Hey guys, you're tuned into Pharoahs Vessel here on YouTube, and I am the guy behind the camera. Today I'm going to bring you a video on how to build decks, etc, etc. So it's easier for me to have the camera facing me rather than facing opposite directions. Before I get into this video, I just want to say a huge congratulations to the person who won the competition, Simon. I've dropped your goods over, seeing as you only live opposite me. And hopefully you'll have some fun at them. But for now, guys, I'm going to leave it just there. Like I said, go down below, like, subscribe as usual. Let me know that you like the video, etc. On, it'll help me to get more content for you guys then. I'll be doing a new video soon with another competition. Try and get in on it and stuff. And you never know, next time it might be you that's the winner. But for now, I'm going to leave it here, and this is a basic tutorial on how to build decks. So yeah, basics of building decks. First thing you need to do, guys, if you want to build a deck, you need to come up with how you're going to build it. What do you want to use? Do you want to use a specific type of card? Do you want to use a specific attribute? Do you want to use a specific type? For instance, you could pick, like, if I just grab one of these, one of my favourite decks, Dark Magician. You could use one of those. I have Blue Eyes, Dark Magician Girls, Red Eyes decks. I've got decks built for lots of different types. Basically, what you need to do is you need to decide what you want to build your deck around to start with, and you can work from it from there. It's easy enough. You might want to build a dark deck or a light deck, a wind deck. I've got a Harpies deck over there that's built mostly around wind monsters rather than Harpies, which is nice. But yeah, that's basically the start of it. You just got to decide what you want to actually build your deck around and take it from there. Things to take into consideration when you're actually building a deck, guys, is before you pick what you want to actually build your deck around, do you want to build it around a specific card, attribute, type, etc, etc? Does it have support? It needs to have support cards, like my Dark Magician deck, which is just there. Quite a chunky deck, as you can see. It's got quite a lot of support in there. It's got backup cards. It's got Dark Magician Girls. It's got its Magician of Dark Illusions. Rods, robes. It's got the support it needs. It's also got its spells and its traps for support. Things like Dark Magic Circle. Or a recent card that I've put in is a couple of copies of Magic Formula. Dark Magic Curtain, Illusion Magic. It's got enough support. For instance, Eternal Soul. It's got its support cards to keep it going and help it sustain. What's the word I'm looking for? Basically, just helps it to stay strong against your opponent, if you like. So, with that said, what would you go for? Are you going to go for a card, a type, or an attribute? So guys, yeah, step 2 is your support cards. Does your deck need a lot of support? Does it have the cards it requires to, help it in dueling? For instance, like I said, the Dark Magician deck has quite a lot of different support cards that will help it along its way. So basically, step 2 is self-explanatory. Does your support cards have a specific listed name? For instance, like Dark Magic Circle states that it needs to have... Hang on, bear with me a moment. For instance, The Dark Magic Circle states that when the card is activated, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, then you can reveal one Dark Magician or one spell trap card that specifically lists the Dark Magician in its text among them, and add it to your hand. Also, place the remaining cards on top of the deck in any order. If Dark Magician is normal or special summoned to the field, except during the damage step, you can target one card your opponent controls and banish it. You can only use each effect of Dark Magical Circle once per turn. So as you can see there, guys, just by the one card there, it states Dark Magician in its text. It's mostly focused around Dark Magician. So, you know, it's a perfect support card. Same with Eternal Soul. Eternal Soul does exactly the same thing. Well, not exactly the same thing, but it lists Dark Magician in its text, or a spell trap card with Dark Magician in its text. Robe, again, mentions Dark Magician. Rod, again, Dark Magician, spell or trap, if I remember rightly. So yeah, it kind of works out that if you're going to build your deck around this type, it needs to have its support cards as well. So that's been step 2. Has your deck now got its support that it requires? Step 3. It's all about learning your balance. A standard Yu-Gi-Oh deck is 40 cards, and I think if I remember rightly, the rules state the maximum you can have is a 60. That doesn't include your extra deck. So once again, flash it up. I know for a fact that there's 60 cards in this deck, which doesn't include the extra deck consisting of 10 cards. It's important to have a good balance for your deck, guys. Maybe go on to Google Play or the Apple Store. Get yourself a nice Yu-Gi-Oh deck builder app thing. What you do then is you can keep a log of the cards that you got in your deck. Most of the deck builders these days allow you to literally draw your first draw phase, and it'll simulate what it would have, so you can see if you've got a balance that you require. I normally go with half and half. I'll do half of monsters. Like that deck's 60 cards, there's 30 odd monsters, and then there's like just under 30 spells and traps. It's got its perfect balance because it's got what it requires. The idea is to make sure you've got that balance. That balance is important because there's no point sitting there drawing monster after monster after monster if your opponent's going to sit there and draw monsters and then go, well, there you are, I've got spells and traps. Because spells and traps can, quite a lot of the time, be more important than the monster itself, especially in the situations with things like Dark Hole. If your opponent pops out a Dark Hole, the last thing you want is to be suffering to try and beat it, in which case I've got things like White Hole. The other one I don't like is, there's actually 2, is Scrap Iron Scarecrow and Scrap Iron Statue. They're 2 more cards I don't like because they are quite nasty. They stop your opponent's turns, and you know, if your opponent goes to attack, you can literally flip the one over and it stops it dead in its tracks. It won't go anywhere. But you need to make sure you've got that perfect balance, guys. Then you've got to look at the balance again, because obviously you've got X amount of monsters, and then you've got X amounts of spells and traps, but you need to make sure those spells and traps are balanced as well. For instance, if I go into, once again, my Dark Magician deck, I can literally, if I take the top of those, that's the extra deck. As you see, they're a different colour. I always put different colour sleeves on the extra decks so you don't get them confused. Dark Magician deck normally relies heavily, I find, on its spells and traps. So you have your spells and traps compared to your monsters. Not much of a difference, but enough of a difference so you can see what I mean. If I then go into here and go through, as you can see, my spells and traps are just over half. I got it the wrong way around. It's just under 30 monsters and then just over 30 spells and traps. This one here is the traps. This one here is spells. As you can see, there's quite a difference between those two there. So basically, guys, you need to make sure you've got a decent balance for your deck. At the moment, I'm teaching a couple of people how to actually play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they've been interested for a while, never understood how it works. So I've said to them, well, I'll take some time out and I'll actually come over and teach you how to play, which is what I'm planning on doing at the moment. After this video's finished, I'm going to go and find one of them and sort that out. But yeah, basically, guys, make sure you've got a decent balance for your deck, and that has been step 3. So step 4. This is one of the more important steps that you're going to need to understand, is your strengths and your weaknesses. What can your deck withstand against an opponent, whereas what can it not do so well against? My Dark Magician is pretty fully loaded, so I'm not going to bring that into this one if I can help it. But basically, you've got to think about it. If your opponent's playing a monster-heavy Blue Eyes deck, say, and you rock up with, you know, a Dark Magician deck. Now, we already know that the 2 signature cards, Dark Magician's is 2/5 by 2/1, whereas Blue Eyes is 3,000 by 2/5, if I remember rightly, or 2/4. I'm not quite sure. I haven't got a card to hand. So yeah, they're outnumbered straight away. But this is where you get things like your spells and your traps that will back it up. Magic Formula, for instance, will boost a Dark Magician by it's either 500 or 700, which gives you enough for what you actually need. It's 700. Then when the card's sent to the graveyard, you gain 1,000 life points. Haha. So yeah, get one of those on the field as quick as you can. Dark Magician will be happy to quite, you know, possibly take down your Blue Eyes of your opponent, depending on what he's rolling. If he's got a field card down and stuff, then it's more even. Because if I remember rightly, Mountain is a good field card for dragons, Winged Beast. And if I also remember rightly, it only gives you 200, which would mean that you're both rolling on 3,200 attack points. Another strength for your back line, one of these, a Scapegoat. The majority of my decks that I own have a Scapegoat in them. Basically, when the card is activated, you can special summon. Sorry, you cannot special summon any monster in the same turn, including flip and special. Place 4 sheep token with the abilities of a beast type, earth, 1 star with a 0 attack, 0 defense, in defense position on your side of the field, and the tokens cannot be used as a tribute for a tribute summon. I run those because they have saved my bacon more times than you'd care to imagine. Literally, I've had nothing. My opponent's turned over a handful of good monsters and he's like, I'm about to wipe the floor here. And I'm like, yeah, you probably will. So I activate one, get my 4 tokens in defense position on the field. As long as they've got no way of destroying the Scapegoat, or obviously like a dark hole or something after it, which then would clear out your monster zones, then at least you've got 4 defense position monsters on the field there and then at your disposal. But yeah, strengths and weaknesses, guys. What's he got in his deck? What's he running? What's his what type of deck is it? You know, you can normally tell roughly what is in their deck, judging by what they're actually running for a deck. Have you got enough to counter it? Can you stop them attacking if they attack you? Are your monsters stronger than theirs? Are their monsters stronger than yours? The only way to actually find things like that out is to engage in a duel with someone and take it from there, pretty much. But this has been Strengths and Weaknesses. On to the next one. Next important factor, guys, when it comes to building a deck, quick plays. How quick can you get certain cards out? What does it take to actually do it? Is it possible to do it? Do you have quick plays? Can your opponent turn over a spell or trap card and you activate the perfect counter where you've got one of your own and then it brings you out 4 amazing monsters to your side of the field that they can't do nothing about? Does your deck contain quick plays? For this video, I will bring in the Dark Magician deck, as it does have a lot of quick play cards. For instance, if I go into it, Magician's Robe. The Magician's Robe states that during your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can discard 1 spell or trap and special summon 1 Dark Magician from the deck. During your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap card or effect while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use the effect of Magician's Robe once per turn. It's a quick effect which your opponent normally will not be able to have anything against it, as I've discovered myself. So if you've got that on your side of the field and your opponent does something pretty miraculous and whatever and tries his, as long as it's on his turn, you can, discard 1 spell or trap, special summon 1 Dark Magician. Ergo, you've instantly got yourself an amazing monster on your side of the field. Things like that. The same with the rod as well. If I remember rightly, you can, bring out 1 activate 1 spell or trap that states Dark Magician in its text, etc. Eternal Soul's another one, where it's got a nice little quick effect. Every Dark Magician in the monster zone is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. If this face-up card leaves the field, destroy all monsters you control. You can only use the effect of Eternal Soul once per turn, but you can activate one of these effects. Well, it's not got so much of a quick play effect, but it does have the ability to stop your opponent from destroying Dark Magicians on your side of the field, which is lovely. Because seeing as the deck is built around that, you want to try and keep them on the field for as long as possible. The other one I find works pretty well is Dark Magician Dragon Knight. Because once he's on the field, your spells and traps can't be destroyed. Obviously, when he's on the field, he becomes Dark Magician. So they kind of counteract each other, so you can't actually destroy anything on your side of the field, which is nice. So if you get those two out together, and all your Dark Magicians, you're laughing pretty much. What other quick plays would your deck contain, guys? You got to think. This is what you need to think about. You need to think, I need to get out my best monsters as quick as I can. How can I do it? Is it possible to do it? If I can do it, have I got enough support then as well to keep it on there and keep it going? All little things that you need to consider when building yourselves a deck, guys. So yeah, this one has been quick plays. Moving on to the next. After you've come up with the idea of does your deck work with quick plays, the next best thing that you can actually do is your test run and your adjustments. Find yourself a friend who has a deck themselves. Use that deck to duel against them, as I've done many times, like with my Gaia deck, the Legendary Fisherman deck, even my Dark Magician done it. If I have a look over, the Dark Magician Girls, the Gravekeepers, all of my decks have gone through an extensive test run against an opponent to see how well they actually work in unison with each other as a deck against an opponent's. So always make sure that you've got someone there, guys, who you can duel against. Obviously not as you're building the deck, because then they'll know what's in there, and then the chances are they'll probably fiddle with their deck to counter it so that they know what's in there, etc. But definitely after you've built your deck, you know, keep yourself a few cards back extra as well, because what you want is you want those extra cards to, well, basically for your adjustments. Do I need to run 3 copies of that? Can I drop it to 2 and then run one of these? Or an extra copy of this? Things like that. They're all sorts of questions you need to ask. The idea is your test run will always be pretty much the last stage of deck building. You can always go up against another deck and see how you get on. I normally test run a deck as I'd play 2 decks alongside each other, myself, and duel it out as well. It's another way that I like to do it. Have 3 zones instead of 5, so it's not so clumped up and messy. It's more strategical because you've only got 3 zones to play with, so you've got to think more about it. Then I look to see, does the deck work? Does the deck help them? Does the deck help itself? But yeah, your test run is always something you need to take into consideration, especially when it comes to building a powerful deck that you can use for many other things, or against many other types, I should say. Your adjustments. Any adjustments you make, obviously once your duel's over, you'll know how good or bad your deck performs. So with that, you'll be able to go, okay, no problem, I need this. It needs more of this. Quite a lot of the times, people I've played against as a tester for the deck, they've actually physically turned to, and they've heard me turn to them and say, right, well, this deck worked well, but it needs more of this and less of that. Quite a lot of the time, you'll hear me shouting things like, okay, no problem, it needs more spell and trap support, or it needs less monsters, it needs more quick play. The amount of things I've shouted at the end of a duel at someone and said, this is what I need. And they're like, that's what you need, man. And it's like, I don't know. But yeah, basically, guys, this is a basic tutorial. It's literally as basic as it comes on how to build a deck. Like I said, you've got things to take into consideration now for this video. What do you want to build it around? Do you want to build it around a specific card? Do you want to build it around a type? Do you want to build it around an attribute? Is there support then for that card? Think about, you know, the support cards that go with that type of deck that you're building. Go with spells and traps as well. Do they work in unison with what the deck I want? Do they have support? Learn your balance. I can't stress that enough as well, guys. You learn your balance for your deck, because you can't have a monster heavy deck and not have a spell and trap support, because that's how you get taken apart. And you can't have too many spells and traps compared to monsters, because you've got nothing to defend you. You're literally running on your back rather than a balance of the 2 lots. Weaknesses, strengths. What does this deck need? Does this deck need more of this? Does it need less of that? Can it hold its own against this? Where is it not so strong? Is it not so strong on its back? Is it not so strong on its front? Does it need a field card? These are all questions you need to ask yourself when it comes to building a deck, guys, yeah? And then finally, obviously, you've got quick plays as well before your test run. How does the deck perform? Does it have quick plays? Can it get its big hitters out as quick as you want them to come out? You know, all things to take into consideration, guys. So yeah, this has been a basic video on how to build a deck. Just to finish off this video, guys, as well, once again, congratulations to Simon over the road. You managed to win the competition. So the necklace and the card has been delivered to yourself. The next video, or the one after, may possibly contain another another competition as well, or I might even wait till middle of next month, and then that way I can dispatch it in the new year when the post office is finally caught up after the Christmas rush. Good on there, guys. There's somewhere roughly by here, there's a like and subscribe button. If you can drop me a like and subscribe, the more subscribers, the more likes I get, the more videos I can do for you, the better the videos will get. Because as you can see at the moment, I'm currently sat with a mobile phone in front of me, standing on a little cradle, on a table, in the middle of my living room. At some point, I want to move everything into the back room and have a better setup so that I can do better videos for you guys. I can do like question and answer ones as well. At some point, I would like to try and go live and see how that goes. But until I get more subscribers, guys, I'm not going live. So yeah, down there, somewhere. Like and subscribe. Let me know that you've seen the video. Drop us a comment as well. And I'll catch you all soon. Oh, also don't forget to check out the 3 links down below. They're for the people who I normally buy my cards off of on eBay. They are highly trusted, guys. These people are amazing. They've never let me down, and if I've ever had a problem with a delivery, they've always turned to me and sorted it there and then, said, no problem, we'll get it sorted. So, yeah, highly trusted these guys down here. Yeah, I'll catch you in the next video. Have fun, guys.